of this family name. The words cracked like thunder through the room, slicing the tense silence into shreds. I blinked, stunned, as my father's voice echoed off the polished walls of my aunt's over-decorated living room. Every pair of eyes at the table turned toward me, some wide with awkward sympathy, most laced with smug delight. "You're a failure," my mother added coldly, not even looking at me directly. "You don't belong here." Then, applause. "Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us, where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. A few claps at first, then more. My uncles, my aunts, all nodding, smiling, reveling in my public humiliation as though they'd been waiting for this moment. I felt a pulse behind my eyes, but I didn't cry, not in front of them. I stood motionless, barely breathing. My palms were cold. My throat felt like sandpaper. My cousin Allison was smirking behind her wine glass. Uncle Ray leaned over to whisper something in Aunt Denise's ear, both of them chuckling. And still, no one stopped it. Until a single chair scraped backward. My grandfather, William Madden, former state prosecutor, war veteran, man of iron discipline and quiet storms, stood slowly at the far end of the table. The clapping stopped. He didn't say a word right away. He just looked at my father, then my mother. Then finally he turned his sharp blue gaze on me. "If she's not worthy of this family name," he said, his voice measured and low, "then maybe it's time the family learned the truth." My heart jumped into my throat. What? Truth? My father stiffened. Grandpa reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded paper, aged, creased, yellowed at the edges. He placed it gently on the table. "This is what I've kept hidden for over 20 years. I swore I'd never need it. But clearly, I was wrong." "Dad, what are you talking about?" My mother snapped, her voice high, uneasy now. "You want to call her a failure?" His voice rose an octave, not angry, but charged. "You want to stand here in your comfortable clothes, under your expensive chandelier, sipping wine that she paid for, and call her unworthy?" Everyone looked at me now, eyes suddenly confused. "She paid for this?" Aunt Denise asked. "Yes," Grandpa said. "Because your perfect little failure over there has been funding half this family without any of you realizing it." The room froze. I said nothing. Grandpa turned to me. "I know you didn't want them to find out. You wanted to protect the peace, but they lost the right to your silence the moment they applauded your shame." Then he looked back at the table. "Her trust fund? That wasn't a pity safety net. That was hers. Left by my late sister Claire, a former CEO, who chose this girl to carry her legacy. And she has. Quietly. Powerfully." "What trust fund?" my father demanded. "Claire never had children." "Exactly." Grandpa cut in. "So she adopted her." Dead silence. My body turned to ice. "Wait, what the hell are you talking about?" my mother hissed. "You didn't want her. You two made that clear when she was born. So Claire stepped in. Legally. She's not your burden. She's your replacement." Gasps erupted around the room. "She owns part of Claire's company," Grandpa continued, "and she's been paying off your mortgages, funding your kids' tuition, and keeping your family name respected, while you stand here and laugh at her, like children at a schoolyard fight." No, that's not true," Allison muttered, her voice shaking. I finally spoke. "It's true," I said quietly. Every head whipped back toward me. "I've been helping all of you, because I thought maybe, just maybe one day, you'd see me for who I really was. Not the girl you looked down on, not the maid you joked about, but someone who earned her place." "You lied to us," my father muttered. No, I said calmly. I never lied. I just didn't correct your ignorance. The tension was a live wire. No one moved. No one dared. But I wasn't done. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady now. You can keep your judgments, your smug looks, your applause. I'm done playing the quiet one. I have nothing to prove anymore. You do. My mother opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. And starting Monday, I added, the tuition payments, the mortgage aid, the insurance I've been covering for Uncle Ray's third heart surgery, all of it stops. Let's see how much you laugh when you're on your own. Allison's glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. I hope your pride keeps you warm, I said, picking up my bag. Then I turned to Grandpa. He nodded, once, and I walked out. But that was just the beginning. I didn't cry on the way out. I didn't even look back. The sharp clicks of my heels across the marble echoed louder than anyone's words ever had. But when the door shut behind me, I stood still for a moment on the porch, breathing in the cold air. My hands were trembling, but not from weakness, from release. For the first time, I'd finally said it. I didn't go home. I went straight to the office. My office. Top floor. Overlooking downtown. Frosted glass doors. A place none of them had ever visited. Not even once. Miss Madden. Karen, my assistant, greeted me with wide eyes. You're back early. The board meeting. Reschedule it. She nodded. She could tell something had happened. I stepped into my office and closed the door behind me. Silence. Finally. My heart was still racing. The adrenaline hadn't left me yet. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts. Dad. What the hell was that? Mom. You embarrassed us in front of everyone. Uncle Ray. Call me back. We need to talk about the tuition. Delete. Delete. Block. I stared out the window, city lights blinking back at me. They weren't mad because I lied. They were mad because I no longer needed to pretend. That night, I slept for the first time without anxiety knotted in my chest. The next morning, I stepped into the elevator, pressed floor 31, and felt calm. Karen was waiting with coffee. So, it started, hasn't it? I smiled faintly. Yeah, and now it's time to finish it. She slid over a file. Everything you asked for. Mortgage documents, school fees, account summaries, and this, she tapped a separate folder, is what we found on your cousin Allison. I opened it. My eyes narrowed. Unpaid credit cards, designer loans, fabricated pay stubs. She's applying for a mortgage, with your letterhead forged. I said nothing for a long moment. Press charges? Karen asked. Not yet. I closed the folder. We'll wait. The fall hurts more when you don't see it coming. By Thursday, I'd gotten 3 emails, 2 voicemails, and 1 pitiful handwritten letter from Uncle Ray. I didn't reply to any of them, but I did make a few quiet phone calls. One to the private school Allison's kid attended. One to the bank that handled Aunt Denise's refinancing. One to the HR head at the company my brother-in-law worked for, whose job, unbeknownst to him, was entirely under a corporate branch I now controlled. Revenge wasn't loud. It was silent, strategic, and it had only just begun. Saturday morning, a knock on my door. Unexpected. I opened it to see my cousin Allison. She looked nothing like the smug woman who'd smirked behind her wine glass days ago. Her eyes were puffy, her lips dry. She held a folder in her shaking hands. Can we talk? She asked, voice small. Please. I didn't step aside. About what? I didn't know you were all that, she whispered. I laughed. Once. Cold. All that? I didn't mean it like that, she rushed. Everything's falling apart. The loan fell through. The school's asking for fees up front. And they said your company sent a notice. You forged my signature, Allison. I said quietly. That's fraud. I didn't mean to. My mom said you wouldn't care, that you wouldn't even notice. She looked up at me, trembling. Please don't ruin me. I have a child. I stared at her. So did I. And you all ruined me anyway. She looked like she might collapse. I paused, then said, You have 3 days to fix it. Pay the dues, apologize in writing, withdraw the applications, and never use my name again. Or I will press charges. Tears filled her eyes. She nodded quickly. I will. I swear. I closed the door before I saw her cry. Later that day, I met with my grandfather at a quiet corner cafe downtown. He was already waiting, sipping black coffee like always. You did well, he said the moment I sat. I didn't feel great about it. That's what separates you from the rest of them. I looked at him. Why did you keep that adoption quiet all these years? Because Claire asked me to, he said simply. She didn't want the family's poison touching you. She hoped they'd learn to value you. They didn't. I swallowed. So now what? He reached into his coat pocket. Another envelope. What's this? I asked. He slid it across. Her final transfer. Stock shares, property, voting rights. She always intended you to inherit everything. This makes it official. My hands shook as I opened it. It wasn't just inheritance. It was power. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a burden. I felt like the one they should have feared all along. Sunday evening. I was reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again. And again. The 4th time, I picked up. Hello? A pause. Then, my mother's voice. Sweetheart, we need to talk. I didn't reply. We didn't mean what we said, she continued, her voice all sugar now. It was a misunderstanding. Your father he was stressed. Stressed, I said quietly. He called me a failure in front of the entire family. You applauded. She exhaled sharply. You know how things get during gatherings. Tension. Pressure. You mean truth. Things got truthful, and you hated that it came from me. There was silence on the line. Then, your father isn't well. He's been having chest pains. It's been a tough few days. You want money? I said bluntly. No, she snapped. Then softer. Well, not money exactly. Just a little support. Your brother lost his job and Denise is behind on her mortgage and… I cut her off. All the people who called me nothing suddenly need something? Her voice cracked. We didn't know what you were going through. You never cared enough to ask. She sniffled. Please. We're still your family. No, I said. You made that clear when you clapped. And I hung up. That same night, my doorbell rang. I glanced at the security camera. It was my father. I debated not answering, but something inside me wanted to see him try. I opened the door slowly. He looked older than he had just days ago. Shoulders heavy. Eyes red. He didn't say anything for a moment, then. I messed up? Which time? I asked calmly. He stared at me. I thought if I pushed you harder, you'd become stronger. But maybe I was just… cruel. I crossed my arms. I was jealous, he admitted, of the way your grandfather looked at you. The way Claire chose you. I felt like you were stealing something that belonged to me. She didn't choose me to hurt you, I said. She chose me because you abandoned me. He nodded. I know. I studied him. Why are you really here? He hesitated. Then, I wanted to say sorry, before it's too late. The silence stretched between us. I don't know if I can forgive you, I whispered. I don't expect you to. He looked down. But I needed you to hear it. Then he turned and walked away. No demands. No anger. just the quiet weight of a man who'd realized he'd already lost the most valuable thing he ever had. 2 weeks later, I received an invitation, a formal family dinner, at my aunt's house. Again, I nearly tossed it in the trash. But Karen tilted her head when I showed her. "You sure you want to ignore it? I'm not interested in another ambush." Maybe, or maybe, they're finally realizing whose table it actually is. Her words sat with me. That Saturday, I walked into the same house I'd stormed out of, but this time I wasn't the outsider. This time I owned the house. Literally. Grandpa had transferred the deed into my name last week. Quietly, strategically. None of them knew. I stepped into the dining room. The same faces turned. Now uneasy, alert, nervous. My mother forced a smile. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. Allison looked like she was trying not to breathe. I took the same seat I had before, folded my hands, and waited. The silence was unbearable. Uncle Ray finally broke it. "We'd like to apologize." "For what?" I asked flatly. "For not treating you like family," he said. "For forgetting what you've done for all of us." My aunt added, "We weren't fair." "We see that now." My mother stayed silent. So did my father. I leaned forward. "You want forgiveness?" They nodded. "Then you'll stand up, right now, and apologize out loud. Not in whispers, not with hesitation, the same way you shamed me, in public." Everyone froze, and then Grandpa stood. "I think that's fair," he said, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. "If you all meant what you said, prove it." One by one, they rose. Even my father, even my mother. "I'm sorry," they all echoed. Some with shame, some with tears. Some just because they feared what would happen if they didn't. And in that moment, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel angry. I felt whole. "I accept your apology," I said quietly. "But understand this, your access to me, to my time, to my support, is earned now. It's not a right. It never was." No one spoke. I forgive, but I don't forget. As dinner ended and people quietly filtered out, Grandpa walked me to the door. "You did what none of them had the courage to," he said. "You reclaimed your name, on your terms." I smiled. "No, I redefined it." He chuckled. "And they'll never forget it." I stepped outside. The night was calm, clear. For the first time in years, I wasn't weighed down by what they thought of me. Because now they knew exactly who I was. Not the failure, not the maid, the heir.